Mercury, the littlest planet in our planetary group and closest to the Sun, Mercury is just marginally bigger than Earth's moon. From the outer layer of Mercury, the Sun would show up multiple times as extensive as it does when seen from Earth, and the daylight would be essentially as much as multiple times more brilliant. Mercury's surface temperatures are both very hot and cold. Since the planet is so near the Sun, day temperatures can arrive at highs of 800 degrees Fahrenheit, 430 degrees Celsius. Without an air to hold that intensity around evening time, temperatures can plunge as low as 290 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius. In spite of its vicinity to the Sun, Mercury isn't the most sultry planet in our planetary group. That title has a place with neighboring Venus, because of its thick air. Be that as it may, Mercury is the quickest planet, flashing around the Sun each 88 Earth days. With a range of 1,516 miles, 2,440 kilometers, Mercury is somewhat more than one-third the width of Earth. On the off chance that Earth were the size of a nickel, Mercury would be probably essentially as large as a blueberry. From a typical distance of 36 million miles, 58 million kilometers, Mercury is 0.4 galactic units from the Sun. One cosmic unit, shortened as O, is the separation from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes daylight 3.2 minutes to venture out from the Sun to Mercury. Mercury is just somewhat bigger than Earth's moon. Its surface is canvassed in huge number of effect pits. Mercury is suitably named for the swiftest of the old Roman divine beings. Venus. Venus is the second planet from the Sun, and Earth's closest planetary neighbor. Venus is the third brightest object in the sky after the Sun and Moon. Venus spins slowly in the opposite direction from most planets. Venus is similar in structure and size to Earth, and is sometimes called Earth's evil twin. Its thick atmosphere traps heat in a runaway greenhouse effect, making it the hottest planet in our solar system with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. Below the dense, persistent clouds, the surface has volcanoes and deformed mountains. 30 miles up, about 50 kilometers, from the surface of Venus, temperatures range from 86 to 158 Fahrenheit, 30 to 70 Celsius. This temperature range could accommodate earthly life, such as extremophile, microbes. And atmospheric pressure at that height is similar to what we find on Earth's surface. At the tops of Venus's clouds, whipped around the planet by winds measured as high as 224 miles per hour, 360 kilometers per hour. Some of the Russian Venera probes did, indeed, detect particles in Venus's lower atmosphere about a micron in length, roughly the same size as a bacterium on Earth. Spending a day on Venus would be quite a disorienting experience, that is, if your spacecraft or spacesuit could protect you from temperatures in the range of 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 475 Celsius. And by the way, the Sun would rise in the west and set in the east, because Venus spins backward compared to Earth. While you're waiting, don't expect any seasonal relief from the unrelenting temperatures. On Earth, with its spin axis tilted by about 23 degrees, we experience summer when our part of the planet, our hemisphere, receives the Sun's rays more directly, a result of that tilt. In winter, the tilt means the rays are less direct. No such luck on Venus. Its very slight tilt is only 3 degrees, which is too little to produce noticeable seasons. Venus is one of only 2 planets in our solar system that doesn't have a moon, but it does have a quasi-satellite that has officially been named Zusev. This object was discovered on November 11, 2002, by Brian Skiff. Earth. With an equatorial diameter of 7,926 miles, 12,760 kilometers, Earth is the biggest of the terrestrial planets and the 5th largest planet in our solar system. From an average distance of 93 million miles, 150 million kilometers, Earth is exactly 1 astronomical unit away from the Sun because 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. This unit provides an easy way to quickly compare planets' distances from the Sun. It takes about 8 minutes for light from the Sun to reach our planet. As Earth orbits the Sun, it completes 1 rotation every 23.9 hours. It takes 365.25 days to complete 1 trip around the Sun. That extra quarter of a day presents a challenge to our calendar system, which counts 1 year as 365 days. To keep our yearly calendars consistent with our orbit around the Sun, every 4 years we add 1 day. That day is called a leap day, and the year it's added to is called a leap year. Earth's axis of rotation is tilted 23.4 degrees with respect to the plane of Earth's orbit around the Sun. Earth is the only planet that has a single moon. Our moon is the brightest and most familiar object in the night sky. In many ways, the moon is responsible for making Earth such a great home. Earth is composed of 4 main layers, starting with an inner core at the planet's center, enveloped by the outer core, mantle, and crust. Like Mars and Venus, Earth has volcanoes, mountains, and valleys. Earth's lithosphere, which includes the crust both continental and oceanic, and the upper mantle, is divided into huge plates that are constantly moving. Near the surface, Earth has an atmosphere that consists of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases such as argon, carbon dioxide, and neon. Mars. Mars is no place for the faint-hearted. It's dry, rocky, and bitter cold. The 4th planet from the Sun, Mars, is one of Earth's 2 closest planetary neighbors, Venus is the other. Mars is one of the easiest planets to spot in the night sky, it looks like a bright red point of light. Mars was named by the Romans for their god of war because its reddish color was reminiscent of blood. The Egyptians called it Herdesher, meaning the Red One. With a radius of 2,106 miles, 3,390 kilometers, Mars is about half the size of Earth. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Mars would be about as big as a raspberry. From an average distance of 142 million miles, 228 million kilometers, Mars is 1.5 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 13 minutes to travel from the Sun to Mars. As Mars orbits the Sun, it completes 1 rotation every 24.6 hours, which is very similar to 1 day on Earth, 23.9 hours. Martian days are called sols, short for solar day. A year on Mars lasts 669.6 sols, which is the same as 687 Earth days. Mars has 2 small moons, Phobos and Deimos, that may be captured asteroids. They're potato-shaped because they have too little mass for gravity to make them spherical. Mars has a dense core at its center between 930 and 1,300 miles, 1,500 to 2,100 kilometers, in radius. It's made of iron, nickel, and sulfur. Surrounding the core is a rocky mantle between 770 and 1,170 miles, 1,240 to 1,880 kilometers, thick, and above that, a crust made of iron, magnesium, aluminum, calcium, and potassium. This crust is between 6 and 30 miles, 10 to 50 kilometers deep. The red planet is actually many colors. At the surface, we see colors such as brown, gold, and tan. The reason Mars looks reddish is due to oxidization, or rusting, of iron in the rocks, regolith Martian, soil, and dust of Mars. This dust gets kicked up into the atmosphere and from a distance makes the planet appear mostly red. The temperature on Mars can be as high as 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius, or as low as about -225 degrees Fahrenheit, -153 degrees Celsius. And because the atmosphere is so thin, heat from the Sun easily escapes this planet. If you were to stand on the surface of Mars on the equator at noon, it would feel like spring at your feet, 75 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius, and winter at your head, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. Jupiter. With a radius of 43,440.7 miles, 69,911 kilometers, Jupiter is 11 times wider than Earth. If Earth were the size of a grape, Jupiter would be about as big as a basketball. From an average distance of 484 million miles, 778 million kilometers, Jupiter is 5.2 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 43 minutes to travel from the Sun to Jupiter. Jupiter is a world of extremes. It's the largest planet in our solar system. If it were a hollow shell, 1,000 Earths could fit inside. It's also the oldest planet, forming from the dust and gases left over from the Sun's formation 4.6 billion years ago. The king of planets was named for Jupiter, king of the gods in Roman mythology. Jupiter's environment is probably not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressures, and materials that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. Jupiter has the shortest day in the solar system. 1 day on Jupiter takes only about 10 hours, the time it takes for Jupiter to rotate or spin around once, and Jupiter makes a complete orbit around the Sun, a year in Jovian time, in about 12 Earth years, 4,333 Earth days. With 4 large moons and many smaller moons, Jupiter forms a kind of miniature solar system. Jupiter has 95 moons that are officially recognized by the International Astronomical Union. The composition of Jupiter is similar to that of the Sun, mostly hydrogen and helium. Deep in the atmosphere, pressure and temperature increase, compressing the hydrogen gas into a liquid. This gives Jupiter the largest ocean in the solar system, an ocean made of hydrogen instead of water. Jupiter's appearance is a tapestry of colorful stripes and spots, the cloud bands that encircle the planet, and the cyclonic storms dotting it from pole to pole. The gas planet likely has 3 distinct cloud layers in its skies that, taken together, span about 44 miles, 71 kilometers. The top cloud is probably made of ammonia ice, while the middle layer is likely made of ammonium hydrosulfide crystals. The innermost layer may be made of water ice and vapor. Saturn, with an equatorial diameter of about 74,897 miles, 120,500 kilometers, Saturn is 9 times wider than Earth. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Saturn would be about as big as a volleyball. From an average distance of 886 million miles, 1.4 billion kilometers, Saturn is 9.5 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 80 minutes to travel from the Sun to Saturn. Saturn has the second shortest day in the solar system. 1 day on Saturn takes only 10.7 hours, the time it takes for Saturn to rotate or spin around once, and Saturn makes a complete orbit around the Sun, a year in Saturnian time, in about 29.4 Earth years, 10,756 Earth days. Its axis is tilted by 26.73 degrees with respect to its orbit around the Sun, which is similar to Earth's 23.5-degree tilt. This means that, like Earth, Saturn experiences seasons. As of June 8, 2023, Saturn has 146 moons in its orbit, with others continually awaiting confirmation of their discovery and official naming by the International Astronomical Union (IAU). Saturn's rings are thought to be pieces of comets, asteroids, or shattered moons that broke up before they reached the planet, torn apart by Saturn's powerful gravity. They are made of billions of small chunks of ice and rock coated with other materials such as dust. The ring particles mostly range from tiny, dust-sized icy grains to chunks as big as a house. A few particles are as large as mountains. The rings would look mostly white if you looked at them from the cloud tops of Saturn, and interestingly, each ring orbits at a different speed around the planet. Like Jupiter, Saturn is made mostly of hydrogen and helium. At Saturn's center is a dense core of metals like iron and nickel surrounded by rocky material and other compounds solidified by intense pressure and heat. It is enveloped by liquid metallic hydrogen inside a layer of liquid hydrogen similar to Jupiter's core but considerably smaller. Saturn is blanketed with clouds that appear as faint stripes, jet streams, and storms. The planet is many different shades of yellow, brown, and gray. Uranus. Uranus is a very cold and windy world. The ice giant is surrounded by 13 faint rings and 28 small moons. Uranus rotates at a nearly 90-degree angle from the plane of its orbit. This unique tilt makes Uranus appear to spin sideways, orbiting the Sun like a rolling ball. Uranus's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressures, and materials that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. With an equatorial diameter of 31,763 miles, 51,118 kilometers, Uranus is 4 times wider than Earth. If Earth was the size of a nickel, Uranus would be about as big as a softball. From an average distance of 1.8 billion miles, 2.9 billion kilometers, Uranus is about 19 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 2 hours and 40 minutes to travel from the Sun to Uranus. 1 day on Uranus takes about 17 hours. This is the amount of time it takes Uranus to rotate, or spin once around its axis. Uranus makes a complete orbit around the Sun, a year in Uranian time, in about 84 Earth years, 30,687 Earth days. Uranus is the only planet whose equator is nearly at a right angle to its orbit, with a tilt of 97.77 degrees. Uranus has two sets of rings. The inner system of 9 rings consists mostly of narrow, dark gray rings. There are 2 outer rings. The innermost one is reddish like dusty rings elsewhere in the solar system, and the outer ring is blue like Saturn's E ring. Uranus is one of 2 ice giants in the outer solar system, the other is Neptune. Most 80% or more of the planet's mass is made up of a hot dense fluid of icy materials, water, methane, and ammonia, above a small rocky core. Near the core, it heats up to 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 4,982 degrees Celsius. Uranus's atmosphere is mostly hydrogen and helium, with a small amount of methane and traces of water and ammonia. The methane gives Uranus its signature blue color. Neptune. Dark, cold, and whipped by supersonic winds, ice giant Neptune is more than 30 times as far from the Sun as Earth. Neptune is the only planet in our solar system not visible to the naked eye. In 2011, Neptune completed its first 165-year orbit since its discovery in 1846. Neptune's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressures, and materials that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. With an equatorial diameter of 30,775 miles, 49,528 kilometers, Neptune is about 4 times wider than Earth. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Neptune would be about as big as a baseball. From an average distance of 2.8 billion miles, 4.5 billion kilometers, Neptune is 30 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 4 hours to travel from the Sun to Neptune. 1 day on Neptune takes about 16 hours, the time it takes for Neptune to rotate or spin once. And Neptune makes a complete orbit around the Sun, a year in Neptunian time, in about 165 Earth years, 60,190 Earth days. Neptune has 16 known moons. Neptune has at least 5 main rings and 4 prominent ring arcs that we know of so far. Neptune does not have a solid surface. Its atmosphere, made up mostly of hydrogen, helium, and methane, extends to great depths, gradually merging into water and other melted ices over a heavier, solid core with about the same mass as Earth. Neptune's atmosphere is made up mostly of hydrogen and helium with just a little bit of methane. Dwarf planets. Pluto. Pluto is the largest dwarf planet in our solar system, just slightly larger than Eris, at number 2. Pluto has an equatorial diameter of about 1,477 miles, 2,377 kilometers. Pluto is about 1/5 the width of Earth. Pluto orbits the Sun at a distance of about 3.67 billion miles, 5.9 billion kilometers, or about 39 times farther away than Earth from the Sun. Eris. Eris is the second largest dwarf planet with an equatorial diameter of about 1,445 miles, about 2,326 kilometers. Eris is about 1/5 the width of Earth. It orbits the Sun from an average distance of 6.3 billion miles, 10 billion kilometers. Eris is about 68 times farther from the Sun than Earth. Haumea. Haumea is the third largest dwarf planet with an equatorial diameter of about 1,080 miles, about 1,740 kilometers. Haumea is about 1/7 the width of Earth. It orbits the Sun from an average distance of 4 billion miles, 6.5 billion kilometers, and it's about 43 times farther from the Sun than Earth. Makemake. The fourth largest dwarf planet in the solar system, Makemake has an equatorial diameter of about 891 miles, about 1,434 kilometers. Makemake is 1/9 the width of Earth. Makemake orbits the Sun from an average distance of 4.3 billion miles, 6.9 billion kilometers, and it's about 46 times farther from the Sun than is Earth. Ceres. Ceres is the smallest dwarf planet with an equatorial diameter of about 599 miles, about 964 kilometers. Ceres is about 1/13 the width of Earth. The closest dwarf planet to the Sun, and the only dwarf planet in the inner solar system, Ceres orbits the Sun from an average distance of 257 million miles, 413 million kilometers. Ceres is about 2.8 times farther from the Sun than Earth.